Alrighty, hello everyone. Welcome to ZeldaSpeedRuns. Welcome to round one of the Crosskeys tournament, Schulzer versus the Fearagent. I am Din, your host, and I am with the lovely Excalibur and amazing Alfros for commentary. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, it is good to be with everyone today, and I think we're going to have a real barn burner here.
Good to have you here as well.
Hey, can you tell me a little bit about Schulzer? Fearagent's, a prominent guy. He just came off running a whole league. But Schulzer's not a name I'm particularly familiar with.
I wish I could. No, I can't, but his name's really similar to about 5 or 6 other guys in the community, so I just expect he's good.
Okay, excellent. Well, then hopefully he will burst onto the scene with a surprise. I feel like I should have looked up the seeds here, but I failed to do that.
I also just noticed
a key.
And I usually assume the player on the left's the higher seed. That's probably wrong, but
That is the case, yeah. Schulzer's 24 seed, Fearagent 41. Although, as we've seen so far, seeding doesn't necessarily mean you're guaranteed a win.
I mean, it usually helps. Or, I mean, it doesn't help. It's usually an indication of quality, I guess.
The main thing to take away from it is we know Fearagent's a good player, and we know Schulzer is a good enough player that he was able to secure a higher seed than Fearagent.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that means there's plenty of skill to go around.
So as the developer, do you hope that they get a good seed so you don't get cursed? Do you hope they get a terrible seed for extra entertainment?
I mean, all the seeds are good as a developer, that's what I would say.
As long as they can actually defeat Ganon in the end, you're happy?
We have not had one impossible seed this entire tournament. No matter how much everyone else has been losing, including somewhat ironically me, I haven't been very lucky. I've been winning every seed.
On cons, we basically always we always win here, so it's all good. Just to know, Fearagent's having a little bit of technical difficulties, just getting started here, so might be a slight delay in getting the race off the ground, but he can sort himself out soon.
I mean, what's the internet? What's the apocalypse without a little bit of technical difficulties? I feel like that's all of our lives for the last few months. So, that's a good sign. I see Nintendo Presents. Twitch chat is suggesting that you should add impossible as a possible setting. I think that one's called no logic. But...
Yeah, I was gonna say we actually have that implemented. I mean, we're way ahead of the curve here.
I wonder if the mystery guys should have no logic on 2% of the time, just so that they can get mad.
So if you actually are willing to use all bugs, including stuff like the exploration glitch, but you just aren't willing to walk under Ganon's floor, no logic's completion percentage, like how often it's possible, has to be north of 95%.
I am not good enough to do all those bugs, so I will strictly believe you on this one. All right.
I mean, basically imagine you can just kind of clip into any dungeon whenever you want. The only cases you're going to have something impossible is when you have just like super tautological locks.
Yeah.
And even then you can fake which keys are which, and that opens a lot. Oh, you can do so much.
You can do so much. I'm bad. So it used to be that everybody started at Link's house. Not everybody. The thing to do was to start at Link's house, fake flipper, and go to the witch's hut. I'm seeing more and more people starting at Sank, people doing, straight to Eastern starts. You have any thoughts?
Well, as someone who's always started at Sank, I think it's a pretty good move. It immediately gets you information that's a little deeper than the Link's house start.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's less stable. Some of the, if it comes out at the castle, that's really the worst case. You just have a bad starting spot. point. Up here's a really good one, though, as we see both players going for it. Because you can just immediately Houlihan Room, which is often desirable anyway. It sets you up for both Bottle Vendor and a bomb purchase.
Well, and both these guys don't get the horrible feeling of starting at Link's house, flick the bring up here, and then walking into the Sanctuary, which might be the worst thing to happen in the first 30 seconds of the seed.
Yeah, that's another reason this starts so good, is because it largely, like this spawn, it avoids that. You get the vanilla spawn, you can work with it. Any of the any of the 4 spawns near the woods or in town are really workable. Pyramid spawn is a huge amount of information. I think you only really lose on Sank start when you get the castle one.
Yeah, you just have to have a little bit more. You have to remember to do 6 things in the first minute instead of every time I will do this easy thing to begin my life. All right, now we get to have some 50-50 bushes. Swing and a miss.
I mean, he got 1 bomb, which is really more than enough. The odds of him being able to buy bombs in town are really high, especially with that 1 bomb. Paradox Cave is a bomb shop now, too.
Yeah. Oh, and Bomb's Tree Pull, another good thing to know.
It's the 1 kill one, too. Very farmable if it should come to that.
Yeah.
And, of course, with the well there, this is a big reward for Fear Agent's early decision to check this castle area before going to CAC. Like, normally this is relatively low upside. It only really pays off heavily if you're able to get bombs here and the well is present, but that is exactly our circumstance. So, this is a big win for Fear Agent.
Yeah, and because it's sort of the most out of the way of the directions to go to from Link's house, you gotta ask how long it's going to take for Schulzer to get up here.
I mean, I don't imagine it'll be too long, because as long as you haven't found the well, these drops are super high priority. But it's probably going to be one of the relatively later drops he checks.
I mean, you say that. I think I watched the game last night where they didn't get to Kakariko for 25 minutes and didn't finish checking drops until about 45. So, sometimes people get distracted.
I mean, there's always rabbit holes, but if you're getting sucked down rabbit holes, at a minimum, you're getting presumably value from said rabbit holes.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things about Crosskeys vis-a-vis other modes is that, in some sense, you're just trying to find all the rabbit warrens and off you go. Lin pointing out in chat that seed was the one where they got Mirror in Link's house and the Pearl immediately in the castle, so, fair enough.
And of course, Fear Agent making a play here that I really like to see this, because it's really easy to just kind of put this off. You get your first bombs, you're in a situation to save and quit anyway. Just go to Sank, check the back 3 chests, because you're going to want to do exactly this play sooner or later, and because of that, you might as well do it immediately.
Yeah, there's basically no upside in putting it off, at the first available save and quit, which... Good on Fear Agent for understanding upside, or EV. I haven't noticed Schulzer finding anything of interest in Kakariko Village yet, as I say that.
Actually, interesting call not taking the extra bomb there. Probably doesn't matter, but interesting call.
You're so politically correct, sir. Here I feel the obligatory need to say, and that's the only vanilla entrance. When are you going to fix that? Speaking
I don't know. Wasn't really planning on fixing that. It's a more difficult issue than it seems at first. And yeah, laser bridge with this equipment is really fun, as Fear Agent's just demonstrating. Like, your only real choices are either to do what he did, use a bomb to get rid of that guy, or run past him, go from the north door, and check all of them that way. It looks like we're actually going to see both approaches here.
Yeah, that looks... His current approach seems like how I do laser skips, which is mostly throwing myself into a pit. There we go.
Throwing yourself into a pit is a, not joking, better way to do laser skips than you might think, because if you fall in a pit, you can immediately run to the bottom one from the bottom door, the top one from the top door. You only have to do a proper laser skip for the middle two.
A fact that I have exploited more than once. Schulzer finding pod, doing right side, which I didn't notice him picking up a bottle, so I presume we were about to see a mimic clip. Oof. Another laser to the face, though that one might have been deliberate.
I'm gonna guess it's not deliberate, given that
Nope.
he's not done with Laser Bridge yet. This has been a really rough Laser Bridge for Fear Agent. Like, it happens, and like, I'm not trying to be down on anyone, because honestly, 4 hearts, no useful equipment Laser Bridge is...
Ugh.
There is a reason that this was a late game location in vanilla. But
Well, and there's a reason. And I believe that logically it still requires equipment in entrance rando, right?
yeah, like it would be, in my view, completely unfair to expect the average player to be able to do this with literally nothing on, honestly, a large number of seeds. It's not rare at all that this is a Sphere Zero entrance, but we just also immediately see why it's so important at a high level to be able to do this. Can you imagine just leaving those boots after finding Laser Bridge here? Like, it cost you the race.
Well, and nothing would make you feel more dumb when you came back than finding them. So, it's a good thing you got there. Only took 3 deaths.
And yeah, I think we all enjoyed that accidental water walk. It was very surprising to me. Honestly, after getting that water walk by accident, I probably would have just run over to Hobo, but it would require some awfully quick thinking, because you weren't planning to water walk there at all.
Schulzer choosing not to play Arrow game. I guess he's already found enough money that he doesn't feel like farming any more rupees for the moment.
Yeah, 246, like, the only reason to really play the archery game here is if you're really worried about Zora, but it's not going anywhere, and it's really likely you'll just find a 300 somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time money's not a problem. And then when it is, you can always go back and shoot yourself a bunch of... Just sit there and push a button every 3 seconds for 20 seconds.
Good old green pendant Ice Palace. Ice
There's a
Palace
bow.
has relatively heavy requirements, so that's good information. What's also good information, a bow, a hook shot, and a pod key. So those...
And we've already been to pod, so unfortunately he went and did the mimic clip before he finished the Kakariko route, which I don't know, might have been a bit premature.
I mean, he did it quickly enough. I don't think he actually cost himself much time.
That's
Now
fair.
those 2 junk items are in logic, though.
Hooray!
The pod key also puts 2 more chests in pod in logic immediately. And we just saw Hookshot Cave, I think on... Oh no, it was on Schulzer's side, so... Yeah, he actually has access to a lot more stuff with those finds from Sahas. Sahas had the goods today.
I mean, hookshot is almost always the goods, right? It's hard for it not to be useful. See if there's actually anything good in here. Or in Mini Moldarm. Fire rod's not nothing. Gloves definitely not nothing.
Another pod key as well, that's... I mean, we're really getting set up to clear, like, a majority of pod. With 2 keys and a bow, you can do a lot of work in that dungeon.
Did hookshot just go from Kakariko to K45? It's not especially exciting connector.
I don't really mind that connector, though, because what that does is it removes a spot from your list for later.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to one of the awkward places to go in by coming out, you're a happy person.
Oh man, we're back to the simple mode days where we're doing Spiral Cave with low health and bombs. This is actually going to be really tough for Fear Agent because he only has 2 bombs, and he still has another mini Moldorm he has to get past. If it just RNG moves out of the way on him, there's not a lot of obvious answers available. Like it did right here.
Good luck.
I don't know what to do here other than just hope you get lucky and squeeze by it. You can, but you need RNG on your side. While we have Paradox Cave on Schulzer's side, we already see the Thieves Big, which is an outstanding big. One of the ones that you tend to need pretty strongly. Of course, Fear Agent does not get lucky, takes a death. And we're about to get 5 more items.
Ooh, there's the item that unlocks half the game.
The Castle Tower Small Key?
Definitely the Castle Tower Small Key. No, the Moon Pearl. People always say the mirror is the most useful item in Crosskeys, but I really think that most of the time it's the Moon Pearl.
But you can do so much in the Dark World with the mirror by super bunnying.
Yeah. And now, apparently, just putting things in your pocket.
Yeah, I really suspect Fear Agent is heavily regretting his decisions in Spiral Cave. He not only took a death and didn't actually get the item or the connector information, but he ran himself out of bombs and was not able to loop Height Cave when he found it.
Fortunately, he knows that there's a ready source of bombs in every tree, but now needs to set up the level 1 tree pool again. Do you know off the top of your head how...
at least from just having glove and boots while doing a bunch of these checks will just let him be far more thorough in his clears. Even though he loses a little of that efficiency with his double back, it might not be as significant as the gained efficiency of, you know, having this annoying glove entrance out of the way, just having these bonk rocks done, and all those sort of effects.
Yeah, I mean, there's the glove entrances and the boots entrances are sort of particularly irritatingly spread around the map. You know, one here, one there, one, and so it can take a long time to go back and get them all, which he's just not going to have to do.
In terms of efficiency, there is both powder and the lamp. The lamp is really more of a convenience, but it lets you kind of quickly scout every dark entrance you see, so you don't have to press into it and either commit to the mountain or not right away. And
well, it also gets you just a little bit of speed up going through the dark rooms. I don't care how good you are at dark rooms, you're going to go through them faster, especially with boots, with a lamp.
Yeah, you also have some obvious time savings as well. But the powder as well, so when he bumps into Magic Bat, which I think was just in the CAC well, he can just do that. So that's going to be a little convenience too. Here's Misery Mire for Schulzer. Probably never been happier to see a place called Misery Mire in his life, because he was at half a heart on Lower Death Mountain.
And unlike Fear Agent, has no real, you know, a hookshot at least stuns dead rocks, but has no real weapons yet. Oh, he's got an arrow. He's a bow. What am I complaining about?
Yeah, he actually totally could have gone into Mire and done quite a bit of work. He chose not to. He doesn't have the Mire big key. He doesn't have a fire source to do the left side. And with his health, it would be tricky to survive getting the spike chest. Possible, but tricky. I feel like I understand the call.
I feel like every runner in the tournament's leaving Misery Mire behind there. You know, maybe not people that are super high execution, but I just don't think it's worth it.
I would be really tempted. I can't say I know what I would do if I didn't have a controller in my hand.
Perspective's always a little bit different when you're pretending to be smart on commentary, right?
Because, I mean, it's like you don't really want to go back to the mountain, but yeah, that is a terrible dungeon to dive with this equipment. So, Crosskeys makes for tough dilemmas.
Yeah. Well, and you're in all likelihood going to have to go back there someday anyway. So it's just a case of, can you put it off long enough to find a way to the boss?
Yeah, like, you just kind of take the Murphy's Law approach, you know, where you assume everything you do is always wrong, where, well, if I don't go in here, then everything I need's in here. If I do go in here, then the next check I do off the mountain is just the flute, so coming back here is easy anyway.
It's one of the interesting things about rando running is balancing that sort of thinking with the magical thinking approach that at the other extreme, right? You should be making full EV calculations at all times, but that's really quite hard to do. Speaking of things that you get to find, at least we're not going to be looking for the ice rod someday.
I actually don't know if Fear Agent can clear this. Like, it's in logic with the fire rod, but I don't know if his magic meter has enough juice in it to actually clear the room. It's gonna be close.
He's also... Oh, he doesn't have a sword. I was going to say he has medallions as well, but...
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to kill all 3 Wizrobes since he used a fire rod shot there. And bombs do not hurt Wizrobes, so...
There's a piece of game knowledge.
Fear Agent is already done and doesn't seem to know it.
To be honest, given that damn near everything else in the game kills Wizrobes, it's fair enough to not know that bombs are ineffective.
Yeah, it's actually a big sort of logic thing in Crosskeys, is that to enter Mire, you not only need hookshot or boots to get past the first room, you need a Wizrobe killing weapon, which it never comes up outside of entrance, because if you can use a medallion, you can kill a Wizrobe. I mean, either the medallion itself or the sword you must have. But, yeah, you can use a sword, a hammer, a medallion, but that's irrelevant. Either cane, either rod, or a bow. So it's a ton of stuff, but it's not a hook shot and it's not a bomb.
It's not a hook shot?
Yeah, hook shot won't kill a Wizrobe either.
All right. The NMG route to there uses hook shot so much that it just, that room to me screams hook shot. But I guess the Wizrobes are not it's just for the, those are not ropas. All the little slow moving enemies in this game have silly names, and I can never keep them straight. Yeah, Zelda pointing out that in NMG you use lots of sword beams there, but that's definitely not available without a sword.
And in terms of decision making as well, we see Schulzer, just no fear, says, I have a hammer, which apparently turned up somewhere. I should have been paying more attention to his side. I was a little consumed by Fear Agent's Misery Mire adventure. He's just like, I don't care if I don't have the Thieves' Small Key. I am going into Thieves Town and I'm going to deal with this.
Fear Agent's just found the hammer in the front of Thieves Town, so... now does Fear go straight to the back as well? He doesn't have the key. Yeah, he does have the key.
So without the Thieves' Small Key, Blind Cell is the only chest in logic in there, or in the back part of it, so it's really tempting to wait until you get the small key so you don't orphan anything. Also, this fight with Hammer is absolutely terrible, but we'll see what Schulzer can do with it.
Well, and he's let Brian get away, so... On the other hand, at least Blind is now hanging out in the boss room and come back anytime.
Yeah, that is a really clear demonstration just immediately of why I don't like inverted mode, because I think it's like 1 out of 3 seeds you have to do precisely that, 5 heart hammer blind.
Yeah, I mean, which is why the ladder's racing inverted key sanity, I think, is partly to reduce the incidence of of that. Schulzer finding the escape door from Turtle Rock. Hopefully never has to go back there, but worth remembering that there's a mirror option available. So he's got the hammer, so you can just drop down there anytime. And the biggest source of items in the entire game.
So this is interesting because Fear Agent has bombs, hammer, and boots. You can just do full left right now. And like, it's out of logic, but it's just so much stuff. It's gotta be tempting.
Yeah, I mean, you only have to do like 1 or 2 bomb jumps.
You have to do 2 bomb jumps, 1 to reach the Stalfos room and 1 to cross the pit in the Fire Snake room. This first one is kind of tricky if you're using a stupid sprite like Minish Link, so I guess he's just going to hover it.
That's also an option. Never mind the bomb jumps. And of course, there's a fair amount of information from completing this in Fearagent's mind, because this is out of logic, and so it tells him something about where the hookshot is. Of course, we know that it's completely available to him, but one thing at a time.
And even that aside, like, we have a pretty tricky Ice Armos fight on our way if Fear Agent does not find another weapon. Because you can hurt them with rods, but just the magic consumption is completely unsustainable. And that aside, Hammer Ice Armos is awful.
Yeah, that sounds like no fun at all.
He could also use bombs, but as you see, he's not going to have very many. He's only going to have 2 when he walks into the room above Ice Armos. And, like, he'll get 1 back from the pop before he has to use 1, but it's going to be a pretty limited supply.
Another nice hover, though.
I mean, the hammer puts Ice Armos in logic. I mean, it's not in logic for Fear Agent because he doesn't have hook shot. We know where it is, but that doesn't help him. But just because it's in logic doesn't mean it's not just awful.
The logic for not awful would be much more complicated to write, I think. Cane on Schulzer's screen.
Hey, look, another weapon that would make Ice Armos much easier, the Red Cane.
As usual, when there's divergence, each of the runners gets to regret not going to the places that the guy has already been to.
Yeah, and Schulzer is actually going south here instead of going toward the eastern area, even though he does not have a glove. He's rewarded with Ganon's Tower, but... And I guess he has really good equipment for this, actually. He can't pick up that big key. He's... Wait. Why do you do left first and then go to the right when you have hammer, hook shot, and bow? I don't understand.
It turns out that when you're busy racing, sometimes you just make mistakes, and I think this is one of those times. As easy it is to try to read deeply into the tea leaves, I think sometimes you just have to put it down to a goof grab.
There very likely was a moment where he just looked at his items and was like, wait, I actually have all this stuff. I can do this.
And he also got about halfway through Tile Room before remembering that he owned a cape. So...
I mean, that's really no big deal at all, because this trick doesn't really save time, it just saves effort.
Gives him time to look and remember that he has a hammer, a hook shot, and a... heart container. Fear Agent killing Minish Bunny.
Schulzer is not going for left side. So that was clearly a deliberate play on his part. Is he just scared of orphaning big chests? Even if so, why not go to Stalfos Realm and just leave from there?
And you can, you're gonna have to come back into the right hand side at some point, probably, maybe. So you can always pick up the big chest then. It is a longer walk, but
it's a longer walk and it costs an extra GT key, which usually isn't a huge deal, but in some situations it is.
It's fair. But I feel like abandoning whatever it is, 10 checks on the left-hand side for to avoid orphaning the big chest seems not worth to me. But we'll see if he gets paid.
And, kind of focusing on Schulzer's GT adventures, it didn't look like Fear Agent even attempted Ice Armos. He made it to the fight, was like, oh yeah, this is gonna suck, and then just left.
I will admit I missed it as well. So.
Oh look, a sword! That would have helped a whole lot with Ice Armos.
Gamachu saying in chat that he didn't even bother dropping in to the Ice Armos fight.
But yeah, we see Fear Agent's about to get really all the stuff that Schulzer has. He's finally made his way to CAC via connector. I don't know when Schulzer is going to head to the eastern area. He's going back to CAC again. And we know the eastern area is actually, well, the eastern area and the northwest of the lake is actually pretty loaded. You get your boots, and your boots lead to your lamp and your powder, and there's a fire rod along the way too, so it's just a lot of stuff.
Oh, Schulzer remembering the existence of Mimic Cave, which is always a risk when you find it early. And that's a nice thing to find in Kakariko.
So it's kind of like a good news, bad news thing, though, because like it's good because you have the flute, but it's bad because Fear Agent's going to have that flute on his first trip into CAC. So from Schulzer's imaginary perspective, where he knows the state of the race, he might find that pretty annoying.
On the other hand, it's likely to lead him over to flute spot 5 sooner than he otherwise would have. So.
Yeah, though, wasn't Laser Bridge with the boots northwest of Lake Hylia?
I believe so, yes. I had intended to have a map tracker going, but I got entirely distracted, so... Mini Moldorm is
going to, I think, to the Fire Rod more quickly, but it might actually slow him down in terms of finding his boots.
The choice of Desert as the first place to flute to is an interesting one to me. I feel like these are relatively long flute checks.
Yeah, I don't think this is an uncommon decision, but I kind of agree that it's a little lacking in the optimal, because walking all the way across the desert is a long walk, and without a glove, you're leaving behind this 50 rupee cave anyway. Like, it's not awful. These two checks do have a real chance to pay off. And assuming that Schulzer's confident with this dark room without any of the good items to make it easy, he can just probably finish Castle Tower forever right now.
GT map, always useful to high-level runners. Very likely to open their start menu and have a look at it.
You know, the funny thing about the maps in this game is I don't really understand how they help you know the layout of the dungeons, even in vanilla. As a kid, they did nothing for me. Like, the map in other Zelda games helps me, but the map in this game, it's just awful.
Well, it's particularly bad because they're as fond as they are of the teleporters. You know, they would already be not great if at least all the rooms were connected in an obvious way. But the fact that you sometimes just get zapped halfway across the dungeon is unhelpful.
So here's a place where us commentators not having sound kind of comes into play. I don't know if Schulzer got the second item out of Castle Tower or not. Like, his screen position was right to have made it there, but you know, in a dark room, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. And I didn't see a text box. I didn't see a visible item, but it easily could have been something else.
I would assume that he was going to, you know, he's listening, so...
I know Schulzer knows whether he has it, but just, I don't know.
But I have faith that he's not going to leave until he finds it.
I mean, if you actually did just die to the guards, then you probably leave regardless.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But we're leaving... I guess we just leave this as a mystery all around. While Schulzer's Moon Pearl he pulled out of... Or Schulzer's finding the glove...
Ooh, mirror in pod basement.
Access.
So, Schulzer has old-fashioned Dark World access, but fearagent now has the mirror, which, given that this is Crosskeys, I know which one I'd rather have.
The mirror is a double value here, because the mirror being in pod, which again is a place that Schulzer's already left behind, means it's probably a while until he gets it. And even more, as long as Schulzer wants to play in the Dark World, he's not going to Laser Bridge to find his boots. So between the mirror and the boots, that's quite a bit of additional mobility for fearagent.
Indeed. The other thing worth noting is that was in the harmless hallway room, which means that mirror is locked behind 6 pod keys, which to some extent probably means that mirror locations are going to be a little bit less valuable, at least until a bunch more pod keys turn up.
Yeah, we've already found 3 pod keys, so that kind of makes you think that this might be one of those seeds where a lot of the point of the early game logic is just to lead you to all the pod keys. I wouldn't be surprised at all if 6 pod keys were just available at mid-game based on what we've seen so far.
Yeah, it's just worth, I guess, keeping in the back of the runner's mind that if those pod keys aren't turning up, maybe don't get too excited chasing after Graveyard Ledge or what have you. All right, now we get to see what fearagent left behind by having an unfortunate run-in with a mini Moldarm. And the answer is nothing.
But he didn't learn where this connector goes, and that's one of the big 3 right there.
Yeah, and the other side of the connector the other side of the Turtle Rock Bridge is also not an inbound connector. So,
well, the funny thing is, it is now. Like, it wasn't before, but now that he's grabbed that heart container, you can hook shot to the message box. Like, that sounds dumb, but that can actually be really convenient. Like, I don't want to take Spiral Cave again. Honestly, Back of Skull in the right circumstance might be a better entrance to use.
Not all that many circumstances, but I mean, presumably he'll go back that way after clearing out Skull Woods. At least that'd be my guess. No, because he has no mirror. In my mind, I keep thinking that once either one of them has an item, they both get to have it. But that's not this mode.
So I see Schulzer going for this magic. Did he kill enough enemies to avoid the despawn here? Yeah, he did.
Do you know off the top of your head how many enemies you have to kill to make that magic actually appear?
I want to say it's 2. So I think he protected himself by killing both of the berries there.
Right.
But yeah, you can totally despawn that just by not killing things. The same reason the magic pots in the entry there don't actually have magic in them if you do them too early.
Perfectly programmed game. Oh, and a second glove.
Hey, if it were truly a badly programmed game, it would crash from loading too many sprites. Instead, it generously despawns your magic refill.
Yeah, and it actually despawns things in a reasonable order. And as much as people make haha funny bugs jokes about Link to the Past, it's not like they didn't patch the game as much as they could back in the day. There's a reason we play on the Japanese edition, and it's because it's the buggy one. So it's a bit rich to complain about bugs.
And while we are defending or crucifying A Link to the Past, depending on whose perspective you take, Schulzer just found Mitz in front of Skull and is now working his way backward to go back to that other connector.
This is a bit of a walk. You're getting a little bit of stick in Twitch chat that you promised exactly that ER Entrance Reno has no bugs. AA?
I didn't say there's no bugs. I said all the seeds are beatable. It can have all the bugs at once, as long as they aren't impossible seed bugs.
Fear didn't finally getting around to finding Sahasrara.
So with that, Fear Agent is almost completely caught up on meaningful finds. I think the only really valuable item that Schulzer has that Fear Agent doesn't is the Desert Big Key at this point. Well, I guess he still has the cane. That's certainly an item of relevance. The cane was behind the glove, I believe, in one of the Light World rocks.
Yes. And now we get to see Schulzer's laser skips.
Well, that is it's a half of a laser skip. Notably the laser half.
Oh dear.
Oh, that's a scary way to die. Did he get killed by the laser while falling down the pit?
I believe so, yes. So that's two excitingly unusual ways to fail at laser skips so far.
There is an exact timing that you can get killed that way where you basically lock up the game. It looks like Schulzer missed the timing on it, so he failed his advanced technique to screw himself, but he was close.
And switching to boot skips after finding them halfway up, unlike Fear Agent, who just got unlucky on order.
Yeah, I think the boots were in the very last chest Fear Agent did, which was just bad luck, obviously, but the boots are definitely going to speed Schulzer along and move him closer to parity on his end. He doesn't have a sword yet, but he does have mitts and canes, so you know, you have your pros and cons.
Well, and it's, you know, it's not just about items, it's also about, to some extent, about which bad places you've checked, because in Crosskeys you wind up getting high enough completion rates that odds on your opponent's going to go everywhere you've been eventually.
Well, we see Fear Agent not living up to his name, showing no fear and going straight for Helmassar King. I actually think this is a pretty reasonable fight with his equipment, but it definitely feels very early in the game to be feeding Palace of Darkness, which is probably a pretty good feeling.
I always thought that Fear Agent was supposed to be giving other people fear, because he doesn't need it. You know, he's a bringer of fear.
It is an irrational emotion, after all.
So, chat pointing out that Schulzer skipped the cane lock, chest, and TR. He skipped a couple of things that make us go, including the entire left side of GT as well. So,
I mean, that cane lock chest, I wasn't really second guessing him on because you can check that chest so much faster from the big chest entrance. You obviously need to find the big chest entrance and have TR big keep, but you know, that's a realistic decision, especially with Laser Bridge being where it is, so easily accessible. I might have made the same call.
Well, and you know that the TR big chest entrance is accessible somewhere, because there's no way to get to that room via the dungeon, and so it has to, you know, unlike some of the potential easier entrances, it has to be somewhere you can get to.
I mean, mostly it could be in the GT entrance, but yeah, it's not going to be at the wrong end of a must connect. I mean, it's a thing I've seen. I've seen it in the GT entrance. I've seen it behind Super Bomb when Turtle Rock itself is a 5/6 crystal. It happens.
Oh, but you know, it's not going to be on Bumper Ledge or somewhere awful like that.
Oh man, Fear Agent getting snitched on.
I do enjoy that the snitches are the hardest enemy in the game. You know, the snitches and the thieves, completely invincible. Ganon, he's got weaknesses. So between the two runners, are we missing any of the big item caves? I feel like we've seen.
We have not seen Blaine's house, have we? Because we've seen Mini Mushroom, we've seen Hype Cave, we've seen Hookshot Cave, we've seen Sahas. I don't think we've seen Blind's house.
I think you're right, but this is where I'd like trackers to bail us out. While I'm at it, let's, as always, thank the trackers, iBot and Siberian, for pushing all the buttons today, and our restreamer, helpfully pulling up the tracker command. I don't think you get to have one, and I failed to ask how to pronounce your name properly at the start of the race, so I'm just going to say Dine again and hope for the best. Fear Agent picking up his cane and a bee in a bottle.
Oh, that wasn't even behind the glove. That was just in the dam, which I totally understand and frankly agree with the decision-making of putting off that check. Because you want to go south later. For one, because the glove's really useful in the south. But for two, because you might find the dam in another Sphere Zero entrance, and wouldn't you really prefer to have the dam already drained when you go there if it's going to be easily available to you as such?
Yeah, absolutely. Though with the flute in hand, the time cost of going back and picking up your dam item is what, 4 or 5 seconds.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It's really more a question of, if the dam is Sphere Zero, just what order are you doing Sphere Zero?
Yeah.
In this case, I think we've pretty rigorously established wherever the dam is, it's not free.
Yeah. Schulzer back in GT, still going right. Hopefully we'll get around to going left soon.
I think going right here is really easy to justify because this is key neutral if you mirror at the right time, or in this case, get yourself killed at the right time. And that Gibdo is actually doing him a huge service by giving that big hit. Probably was intentional damage.
Well, and walking around the old helmet beetle there, a little bit more exciting than you'd really like, but it does make this death warp a lot faster.
Yeah, so you've gone key neutral going right side by picking up this static small key and leaving there. And now you can do full left with real confidence about your key situation, and you've maximized the odds you're going to find the GT big key before the big chest. So this is really a very optimal Thieves Basement clear.
GT Basement clear? The Thieves would really like this house.
I mean, you have to understand that's what I meant. Read the lore. Ganon was the king of the thieves before he betrayed them and killed them all. And point out, if you follow the Zelda timeline, that there is not a single Gerudo in any game on the hero is defeated timeline. So this game's little intro ticker is fully coherent with the rest of the series.
I understand the Legend of Zelda as, you know, in terms of real legends, which is to say, stories told by various people to their tribes and clans that have some relationship with the truth, but consistency is overrated.
I mean, it's a world with wish-granting triangles, so your inconsistencies have a real easy explanation.
Wish-granting semi-fractal triangle.
I'm also just like looking at what the players have in general at this stage in the game. Both players are converging on roughly similar item sets, and this is actually a pretty stacked set of equipment.
Yeah, they've gotten a lot of stuff, but they're still missing a lot of dungeons. Presumably in the Dark World, when they eventually get around to doing a reasonable runaround.
It's kind of a funny situation, too, because they have a lot of items to do a lot of work in dungeons, but they're relatively key poor. Like, what are the big keys we have? Desert, pod, swamp, thieves? That's it? There's a lot left to find.
Schulzer hoping the GT Big Key fell out of the sky while he was charging up a dash there.
It is nice that people are so much more familiar with Crosskeys than they used to be. I remember back when this was new, how many people just didn't check GT Big Chest because they got used to from other modes that chest not being a thing.
Yeah, on the other hand, Schulzer, unlike some of the guys that really run a lot of Crosskeys, didn't powder Bob via quick swap for a very minor time loss. But going back to the discussion at the start of the seed, maybe he's got just a little bit less practice than some of the guys that play, you know, seeds and seeds and seeds of this every week.
So that was actually a really big deal going to the back there, because that was the swamp small key. We already have hammer and hook shot. Somewhere Fear Agent got some flippers, seems like a good item. We don't have the dam, and I don't think we've seen swamp itself, but...
No, so on this fancy new tracker that they put in a while ago, they're tracking entrances found, and Swamp Palace is still marked as unfound for both our runners, so you need a little dam button too. Ask for that in the next revision.
You're asking for a damn button?
A damn button. Fear Agent's made it through Turtle Rock. Let's see if using it as a connector is going to pay off today.
Schulzer is going back into pod. This is going to be a really interesting question, what he chooses to do with his keys. Because he may or may not find the mirror, depending on his pattern of decisions. Based on what he's done so far, I think he will find the mirror.
I believe I lied to you earlier. I believe the mirror is downstairs, so... I think he should... I think it's
that also means previous analysis is wrong, because yeah, the mirror is here. That is only behind 4 keys, not 6, and we found 4.
Yeah.
So that is in logic for Schulzer.
And in fact for Fear Agent. So
The timeline way the hero at time dies is he's playing OOT Randomizer. He's really deep in Shadow Temple. He confidently didn't push the block. He died to Bongo Bongo, got really salty, and turned off his N64.
I'm sure that the guy that writes Lord Nintendo is working on that version. So the thing that was in the harmless hallway behind 6 keys was Hera Basement, which, given that people like skipping that anyway.
I really like Schulzer setting up for a death warp right after finding the mirror.
Yep. And I was going to go take a death warp too.
I mean, after you've taken enough damage, especially given that he probably plans to fight the boss, he might feel like he has to. Because dying on the way to Helmassar King is just an unacceptable time loss.
I mean, a death warp costs you, what? 8 to 10 seconds compared to mirroring out. It's just not that big a deal.
Schulzer is prioritizing Vanilla Big Key over Helmassar King. That is a fascinating decision.
He just took a death warp, which means that the reset button is available. And is going to get used.
Okay, so
That might
that's pretty smart. Especially, he has the flute. Yeah, that's really accessible. That's a really logical play. So that means Schulzer, if he just goes back to pod and kills Helmassar King, he might not even be in a hurry to do that. He doesn't know it's a crystal. But whenever he does that and he has all the resources to do so, he's full cleared pod with only 4 keys.
Yeah, it's a low-cost play to save you having to find another key. And Zelda, of course, in chat is way ahead of us.
On Fear Agent's side, we are heading to the pod area, which is a new bit of territory for us. Oh yeah, remember when I said, and you disagreed with me, that Schulzer would find this well really quickly because he'd be prioritizing finding the well? Well, here at 53 minutes into the game, Schulzer has found the well. I don't think it had anything good in it, but it's concerning to see it here and now.
Well, I mean, it was either here or again in his mind too, which is an interesting thing to just leave sitting for a long time. Eastern Big was in here.
Eastern Big and Desert Small, both items of some relevance. Desert Small leads to a sword, right?
Yeah. The other thing that's nice for him is he's now got that Eastern Big Key in hand, as does Fear, before ever finding Eastern, which means that'll be a one and done when it eventually turns up.
And you even have the lamp that you don't really need, but it puts it in logic. So that it's kind of like just adding value to the play in your mind of what does the seed want me to do is what it is.
Yeah. Anytime you can get the Eastern Big Pack, the care package, before you find the place, it saves the annoying decision about whether to go in there or not. Walk around 10 screen transitions to get not very many items. So Fear Agent found the bottom of, or the item get entrance to Spec Rock, but chooses not to bomb jump across the gap yet.
Oh, bomb jump. We all know he's gonna hover.
Fair. And one of my favorite entrances to find in entrance rando when you have a bunch of spare money lying around, capacity fairy.
So these left side checks for Schulzer are really interesting. He has every Meyer key, so this is fully in logic. And when this is in logic, sub-hour, you tend to get suspicious. The first chest was nothing, but this second time-consuming chest probably really has Schulzer's hopes up right now. Granted, when your hopes get raised in Randomizer, it's often just to have them dashed, but I bet he's excited.
Well, you got to do something for 17 seconds in what might be the worst cutscene ever.
You know that cutscene's actually exactly the same length as the one in Desert. It just feels longer because you can't see what it's doing.
Yeah, I mean, at least the ones in Pod and Desert, there's something happening on screen. Like, from a game design point of view, that one's just bizarre. Like, we promise that this wall that you can't see is moving. Like, thanks. Thanks, programmers. That's exciting.
So my understanding of how this game works, that cutscene makes perfect sense to me. From a design perspective, it might be suboptimal.
I mean, I assume that from a that was the thing that used the least memory, which back in the Super Nintendo days was the way you design games.
Well, I mean, you have to understand, in Meyer, that's all part of the same super room, so the game has it all loaded at once anyway. It's playing the cutscene right in the room you're in. Just, oh, there's a camera block because it's, you know, on the other side of the super room. Oh, there's the GT big key. I think we've concluded Ganon's vanilla, so that's required. And this is exactly the sort of situation. I honestly would not be surprised at all if Schulzer does a swordless GT climb soon.
That seems like not a lot of fun, but he does have all of the other weapons, basically, so...
Yeah, he has everything he needs to full clear it, and he knows he has to do it eventually anyway. And it leads him to the top of the pyramid with the mirror and the cape. Like...
Yep.
It's a super appealing play from his position. It just... We know there are two easy swords available, which make the play a lot nicer.
What, having a sword in a game about being a swordsman is useful?
And Fear Agent has made his way to his mitts. Like, mitts are usually not that important of an item in the entrance randomizer. There's only a couple entrances. You can't really work around them one way or another, especially given that we have a connector to the Meyer region. Oh, there's Swamp, and we saw the dam on Fear Agent's side. So between both players, we've seen everything we need to full clear Swamp, actually.
Once again, Schulzer wishing he had the things that Fear Agent has, because I assume if he'd already found the dam by now, he would have just gone straight into Swamp. It's not getting any better.
Granted, you're not too sad about not having to fight the menu boss in Swamp. Like, Hammer Argus isn't really difficult at all, but boy is it slow. Oh, there's a sword. A different sword than either of the ones Fear Agent has. You can totally kill Aga 2 with the hammer.
It's kind of a faff, but I assume that, you know, I can do it, so... and as previously mentioned, I'm bad. So, I'm assuming that Schulzer can do it, no problem. And we do have the swagnet on this tracker. What are your thoughts on swagnet versus hammer strats for?
The net is way, way better, actually. Like, you don't really... It doesn't affect your decisions, because if I'm making a big decision, like time to climb GT, the bug-catching net is not my tipping point on the decision. But if I have it, and I don't have a sword, I will use it.
Oh, sure, but I actually find it interesting that runners seem to be fairly divided on the hammer versus bug net question.
I mean, the hammer has a hitbox that is a tiny fraction of the size of the bug nets, and if you're facing up, is a tiny, tiny fraction of it, because that's just how this game works. And the bug net also actually has a lot of active frames, which can be very convenient.
Yeah, I think there's an argument that it's easier to get doubles or triples with the hammer, but I don't really believe it. I'm with you. I'm on the bug net side.
I mean, a sword is actually a lot better than both, and you almost always have a sword, so it's one of those academic arguments people make that doesn't affect their gameplay very much, but I guess it is a thing to discuss.
I mean, it came up back when there was a time then when there was a sort of fad on swordless for a while, and it came up a lot more often. And that's actually probably the two agonyms are the only place where the bug that actually turns up in the logic of the rando. So.
Yeah, and it's actually totally irrelevant because outside of swordless, for Aga 1 you need a sword to cut the curtain. For Aga 2 you need a sword or hammer to kill Moldorm 2 to get to Aga 2.
Right.
So no matter what, you need a different item at the bug net to reflect anyway.
Could come up in Door Rando.
Yeah, it can come up in Door Rando. It can come up in swordless mode, which removes the cut curtain, so you could get to Aga 1 with just the bug net. That's about it.
I look forward to the day when Cross Door Rando gets a tournament. That'll be fun to commentate, I'm sure.
I've actually played a lot of the Door Rando. It is so much fun. But it's not tournament ready yet. Like it's making great strides. It's just not there yet.
I am entirely with you. It is super interesting. But yeah, the code to actually stitch the dungeons together is a little bit work in progress still. Those of you that don't know what we're talking about, Synac has designed a mode which stitches together dungeons on super tiles, and you can set it up to, just like Entrance Rando connects random entrances together, to connect dungeons together basically in arbitrary ways. And it's really interesting, but the first time you play it, your head will fall apart.
Who did it, but
I know. As soon as I said that, I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't remember who the right person was in time. Would you like to fill us in, sir?
Aranon it looks like how it's pronounced. I knew it started with an A.
Thank you, Zelga. I knew that was I knew as soon as I said it was wrong, but...
Of course, Aranon, this is what I really love about open source projects like this randomizer. You just have so many people who come in and they just make really cool things using what others have done and taking it a step further. Aranon being another person whose name starts with A who had that idea, and he even has alphabetical superiority over me with AE instead of AM.
Unlike some people that actually try to use the AE character and screw up alphabetization for everybody. So Schulzer made his way over to Dark Shopping Mall. We were yakking about Door Rando. I didn't see anything actually good come out of it, but at least that's one more place checked off his list.
Yeah, he also did a map check. We have a pretty clear picture of where all the pendants and crystals are now. Our only question as viewers, well, no, we have no questions as viewers. Hera's a pendant. Neither runner knows this, but we know it.
I appreciate the decision by organizers to track the information that the runners know rather than sort of audience information on the crystals and pendants tracker, because I think it gives insight into what the runners are thinking.
You mean you don't think that one player should map check and then we should heavily criticize the other player for going to dungeons that are pendants when they have a crystal they could clear?
Yes. Yes, I think that is the case. And unfortunately, or fortunately for us, the current event that we're commentating on is doing it right.
So, Fear Agent is going to be able to open the Turtle Rock entrance here, which Schulzer was right up there. He didn't have Bombos or a sword. I'm really just looking at the state of this race, and I think quietly, Fear Agent's actually built a pretty strong lead. He has the flippers, he has 2 crystals to 0, he has a Master Sword, he has Bombos, he just saw the Tempered Sword. And I feel like his total completion rate is just kind of catching up.
I would be surprised if he wasn't ahead on total completion.
I mean, I said catching up. I meant pulling ahead, like just in terms of the total entrances he's seen, etc. Like, yeah. I feel the total locations they've checked has to be pretty close right now. I'm using my heart container rule of thumb. Schulzer is up 1 heart container, which means he's probably checked either very slightly more locations or approximately the same number. But in terms of entrances cleared, I think Fear Agent has at least done more of the annoying ones.
Well, shots are getting one of the annoying locations out of the way right here, which is a little bit interesting. Zara's pretty far out of the way, and I feel like he's not really looking for individual small items at the moment. Especially not the sewers key.
I mean, so here's another interesting thing. I'm pretty sure this Turtle Rock main entrance is the first entrance to the castle we've seen. And Fear Agent is just going to full clear the castle from here. If you're Schulzer, you're like, is the castle going to be, like, unfindable? Do I need to use this sewers key to backdoor that chest? Just kind of a long trip for 1 item, but the logic can do that to you.
I discovered, to my chagrin, one day that you can't actually get all the way to the front of the castle from the back, which is a thing that just hadn't occurred to me ever playing before I started playing Entrance Rando. It just doesn't come up, right? Looks like Schulzer's taking that GT climb that you suggested would be reasonable, and at least has 1 sword in hand, which helped a little bit. I'm glad I'm not the only one that has trouble with this room on occasion. That second Mimic Room may be the most obnoxious Mimic Room in the game. Missing the bomb wall. Always a little bit unfortunate. Ooh, Ice Palace on the center drop on East Death Mountain is a unfortunate location for a dungeon, which is why Fear's presumably sitting here and thinking about it for a good long time before deciding to head on in. I think with the stuff he's got, there's sort of no reason not to.
My finger was on the wrong push to talk button. Man, I was wondering why you were talking over me.
I was vaguely suspectful that was the case, but didn't want to call you out in case you were just, getting a cup of tea.
Yeah, I provided some incredible insight into rambling about that side room that Schulzer went to. We're all going to have to live without it, though, because we have a lot more exciting stuff on our hands. We're getting into the thick of the GT climb here. I think Schulzer pretty much has it covered, and we are about to see a mostly full clear of Ice Palace. I have to say, though, this is an interesting call to go in here as Fear Agent, because it's a pendant. He knows it's a pendant, and you don't have the Ice Big Keys, so you're choosing to do a dungeon that's not necessarily required and risking orphaning one of the worst chests to return to in the game. On the other hand, it's 7 relatively quick checks with Icebreakers, so Pick your poison, right?
Given the lack of big key, is it even worth going back and hitting the key switch in the room before the icebreaker room?
You have to if you want to fight Cold Stare. You can't use the big key to go to the basement.
You reckon he's going all the way down to Cold Stare?
I mean, I should put it this way. Why wouldn't he? Because at the point you're making the call to go to Cold Stare or not, you're just a couple rooms away anyway, and you've already committed this much to Ice Palace.
Yeah, and
Cold Stare's 2 times. It's the green one.
Yeah, at least it's a green pendant. And also, maybe some other good stuff. The big key to Skull Woods, not good stuff. Cater, Schulzer got the Thieves' Town small. I lie. fearagent has checked. One of them has checked the Thieves' Town big chest, and it was nothing. So.
I don't
Hey,
think anyone's...
Okay, I'm full of lies. I apologize.
Yeah, no one's checked Thieves' big chest yet. That's gonna be probably one of our last locations if the seed goes real bad. So Schulzer's doing a check most players don't do, which is the room below Moldorm 2. He's confirmed that it has no items in it, as per usual.
We have to wait for Door Rando Tournament for that to be a thing that's actually worth doing.
I mean, sometimes you just gotta be sure.
Gotta go see if those spikes are still down there. So I bought, I'm pretty sure that, so Schulzer died to blind, so I'm just full of lies. fearagent using bombos to break open the ice so we can get some fire rod shots. Seems like a reasonable trade-off.
Yeah, like, in terms of strategies of what weapons you use for Cold Stare, like, it's faster to melt the shell with fire rod than bombos, but if you have a sword worse than tempered, there's just no way you're actually saving time by doing that, because, you know, hammering them is a delicate operation, which you can do, like fearagent just demonstrated, but it takes time. Your master sword is just not that strong. Totally was the right call there.
Schulzer finally finishing off Aga2 with a 0 cycle and a 1 cycle, which is a bit unfortunate, but now we get to see what's on top of the castle.
And fearagent is about to find his tempered sword, so the whole game's easy for fearagent from here on out. He has all the useful navigation items across the world, so he doesn't really need to worry about remembering connectors or whatever, other than the big three. And he's going to have really easy combat with a tempered sword. Schulzer having a little bit of a disagreement with the electric barrier.
Ooh, that's a cute place for the back of a dungeon.
Yeah, ice really didn't pay off for fearagent, who is still missing that swamp small key, and there's a big question when he's going back for it, because swamp small key is after Ice Armos, which he's been down toward Ice Armos but didn't actually fight them.
So now that he's got a fire source and a cane, he might be tempted to go do right side at some point.
Yeah, and I think, like, the realistic way fearagent's probably going to try to route this, he's going to go back to Misery Mire, full clear that, find the GT big key, and then full clear GT.
All that sounds totally reasonable. And the question is, how long is it going to be before going and doing that Mire clear? Spire's right here, so good predicting.
I mean,
This
like,
has,
as just an entrance player in general, what I would say is if you have a crystal dungeon you can full clear,
just go do it.
there's so little reason not to just pull the trigger on that.
Well, especially when it's a flute away, right? Like, it's not even a pain in the neck to get here.
A crystal dungeon you can full clear with an easy overworld route to it. Like, this is nearly an automatic play. The only reason he didn't do it sooner was because he was finishing an overworld route he was on to avoid a backtrack to the Eastern Mountain.
Schulzer picking up his first crystal, 75 minutes in, which feels like more like how Entrance Rando is supposed to go, rather than the 3 crystals that, or the 3 dungeons complete that fearagent already has.
There's our last sword. I really appreciate that Schulzer's Master Sword was completely different from fearagent's Master Sword.
Yeah, that's apparently they're all in awkward enough places. And that's speaking of. I said confidently earlier, the Turtle Rock Big Chest entrance can't be anywhere too terrible. Well, that sort of counts.
So this might be a good time to evaluate. What do we actually need for go mode? Between both runners, I think we just need to find Eastern, find Desert Final, and find Turtle Rock Big Key, right?
Yep. And Fear Agent's a lot closer to all that.
Yeah, on Fear Agent's side, he needs to go pick up that Swamp Small Key, but otherwise he has every piece of that, I believe. He needs the GT Big Key, but that's forthcoming.
Yep. Whereas Schultzer's still missing Flips, still missing Meyer Big.
And of course, in terms of dungeons cleared, right now it's Pod and Thieves versus Skull and GT. I would mostly give the edge to Fear Agent on that. Pod is not a quick dungeon to finish off. Thieves really isn't either. As long as Thieves' Big Chest isn't important, that's a big deal, having that already done.
Well, except that Schultzer's already picked up Blind, and so it's just a quick run to the back to go find Blind again. It does mean it's off script, but at least you don't have to run around and pick up the Maiden. And there's the GT Big Key that we knew was coming.
So that was a super little thing Fear Agent just did that's actually pretty smart. He ran down the bridge before jumping off because Link runs faster than the camera scrolls if you're using the boots.
As long as you run far enough.
Yeah, I mean, you have to get past the initial startup time of the boots dash, which is some commitment, but, you know, running that very large distance, it pretty easily covers it. Definitely saved a couple of frames with that decision.
You have to be careful not to run off the edge of the bridge near the footbridge or something, though, right? Because you can accidentally RMG. We've certainly seen someone do that by accident in that room.
It is probably possible to RMG in that room and a majority of other rooms.
Yeah, I've just seen... It's the only place I've seen someone do it literally by accident.
Usually you see people do it by accident in Pod.
And then get very confused. Cape strats in, against the eyeballs.
Yeah, Cape strats are just a nice time saver when you have really any sword that's at least master.
Yeah.
Yeah, neither of the items behind the Meyer Big Key were important, but it is a crystal. And that is actually the second 5-6 crystal, so Fear Agent can return the Super Bomb. I don't think he's seen the shop. I think it's maps that have shown him what the red crystals are.
I agree. Well, certainly he has the maps. He might have ducked in and out of the big bomb shop at some point quickly. iBot helpfully telling us that we're wrong, so...
Actually a pretty big deal, too, because we still haven't seen Eastern Desert Hera.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dungeons to find. The odds that one of those is behind Super Bomb are pretty good, and... Well, 2 of them are pendants, but... Fear Agent doesn't have that perfect information. Neither runner does, actually.
So where is there a reasonable supply of entrances we haven't seen yet? You know, they've both had the gloves and the boots for a long time, so I feel like there hasn't been too many entrances orphaned.
I don't know that either has done this South Dark World area before Fear Agent's taking care of it just now. Yeah, there's Desert Final at Hype Cave, just right there. It's been available for over a half an hour, but hey, why don't you just go to the place with the thing you can do?
I feel like Crossworld lends itself to that. You know, in a lot of ways, it's relatively flat in terms of how many spheres there are, just because the cross connections. There's always some place you could have been an hour ago that.
For that matter, I guess we haven't done North Dark World either. Schulzer just found silver arrows and super free Village of Outcast Fortune Teller entrance.
iBot, do you remember where the shop is? Did you track that? So chat telling me that bomb shop is in Ice Rod area, which, given that we have the flute, isn't really a problem. But it is a bit out of the way. And you were commenting earlier that it took forever to find our first entrance to the castle. Well, one of them's just sitting at the bomb shop, so definitely nobody's been around here. And I'm worried that AA might have lost the talk button again. But you never know.
Oh, I totally did. It's always really funny to find your first castle entrance in the Turtle Rock main entrance when Bomb Shop has another one.
Yep. And I didn't even check the connectors, clearly.
Yeah, like, it's not that bad not to check the connectors. Like, the only place the connector could go that you'd really care about would be the Foothills Cave.
Yeah. Which I don't believe we found. And I don't even remember if there's anything good on the ledge. I assume not, or they'd be digging harder for connectors.
Yeah, no. But then again, I guess it's about a 50-50. You've seen most connectors at this point. The other connector you're likely to run into is a connector to Desert Right, which is obviously not very valuable at all.
They have found Desert Right. Fear Agent found it a while ago. And then used the little bird to take him away.
Hey, Fear Agent's about to learn what all the pendants and crystals are.
Well, at least there's a shortcut at the top.
So I feel like if you're going to do Hera Basement at all, you do it right now. You don't do the top first.
Just in case the big key's down there, or?
Well, that's part of it. And the other part of it is, like, you don't want to just re-enter the dungeon. It's extra time spent. You're already right here.
Yeah. So Fear strictly leaving that sucker behind.
Yeah, I think Fear is just... He's going to grab that chest there because it's relatively free. He's going to kill the boss. In his mind, it's a 50-50 at a crystal. And he's just going to move on.
Schulzer finding new territory with exciting new items like a bug net. But this connector might go somewhere cool. I don't know what's left. Ah, there's our connector to your favoritely named Southwest Death Mountain Foothills Cave, aka Bumper Ledge.
People criticize the name all the time. I've yet to see someone give me a suggestion for a better name.
I think it's teasing in that everybody else also agrees that there's no good name for it, but that name is ridiculous.
That name leaves no confusion for what it is. Because, like, when you actually write a hint system, it's pretty incredible because by far the most common complaint is, I don't know what this hint means.
Yep.
Like, I'd much rather people make fun of me because the hint is too wordy than get another, oh, what does this mean? What is the Foothills Cave? Like, well, Southwest Death Mountain Foothills Cave, okay. And it's not even that long because I use a bunch of abbreviations. It's just long if you say it out loud.
So, Zelga, the tricky part was naming the entrances without reference to what's in them. Which is why you can't call it the Death Mountain Descent Exit. You can't call it Bumper Ledge, that sort of thing.
Yeah, like I'll use what's in it in vanilla if it's a super important entrance, like a dungeon. But I don't expect players to remember what's in caves that weren't required in vanilla. And that cave is not required in vanilla. You can just save warp off the mountain.
Yeah, I find it interesting that they put in a cave to let you get off the mountain, and then you don't have to use it. I guess the NMG guys do, but...
Yeah, I mean... We have to remember that there's no more vile glitch in this game than saving and quitting. So, yeah, here's a real feels bad moment. The Turtle Rock Big Key on Stumpy at 127. Oh, you feel so awful about how far before your opponent found that, and you're the first one to get it.
Yeah. I feel like the last 10 minutes have been both of these guys checking things that are like Sphere 1 or 2 that have just been available forever. Finally cleaning up.
So I've kind of been joining in on the making fun of them for this, but in all honesty, I don't really disagree with this search pattern at all.
Nope.
Because when you get items that let you do deep searches into deep parts of the logic, it's often just as efficient to do that before the earlier locations, and the logic might be pointing you there. So if you get a seed that opens up a lot with items early, and this one did, this is actually a perfectly intelligent pattern to use. It just leaves you open to either horrible losses when you skip something good, or being made fun of by commentators.
Yeah, and you know, in some sense, that's where a lot of the variance in Crossworld comes from. And a lot of things are often available, and so you have choices that are all sort of reasonable. Some of which leave behind the Turtle Rock Big Key for an hour.
So this pattern that Fear Agent's taking, he is going to find Skull Final, because he's going to go to the pyramid, check the Super Bomb entrance, then mirror on top. At that point, Fear Agent's go mode is going to Stumpy and going to Ice Armos.
Yep.
And honestly, I think it's really likely after he finds Skull Final, he says, okay, I know I have to beat Ganon's Tower no matter what, let's go there. He could very well have Stumpy go mode.
Hey, at least you get some potions for your trouble.
I am never too unhappy to see that. Like, obviously you don't need a blue potion, but just being able to play with so much more confidence. Oh, I don't care if I go low on health. Oh, I don't care if I play Cavalier with my magic. If I make a mistake, I have this safety net. It's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, and you know, having it inside the pyramid means that, given there's a bunch of stuff right here in this game, including Ganon, means it's in a reasonably convenient spot. You know, he could very plausibly go kill Moth, have to use a potion, just go right back outside and get another one.
And in terms of the state of the race, like, I don't feel like Schulzer's been playing badly, but I actually feel like he's pretty devastatingly behind at this point.
I mean, as we were just commenting, fearagent needs to go to Stumpy, and he needs to clear GT. That's the rest of the game.
Has a really clear path to finishing this seed, and they're both plays that I think are just kind of naturally plays he's likely to make soon.
Yeah.
So, in order to stay in this race, for one, Schulzer absolutely has to avoid Ice Palace. He hasn't seen it yet. He just has to say, if ice is the answer, I've lost. Otherwise, he's not missing anything too time-consuming. He just has to go kill Blind, go kill Vitreous, go kill, well, he has to find and go kill Landmo. They're all quick dungeons, but it's so many of them, they kind of add up, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no substitute for having done stuff, right? He's just been inefficient, I think, because he's been missing one item here and one item there. You know, he was behind on getting the boots, he was behind on getting the flute. Or he was ahead on getting the flute, but it was on his second trip through Kakariko, that sort of thing.
Yeah, though the big question is just when is fearagent? Well, there's the gold sword, but when is fearagent going to make honestly the safe plays? Because I think in fearagent's position, the safest thing to do is to clear GT and check the static overworld items you haven't done, and that puts him in go mode. He's checking Catfish, which is along that strategy, but after Catfish, everything else he has left on that line of thinking will be pushing him directly into go mode. He might think, though, that he needs to avoid going back to GT because he never wants to fight Ice Armos because it was really bad not being able to do it his first time there. And that line of thinking could be the road to doom if he follows it far enough.
Yeah, but you know, he also left behind right side. He also left behind upstairs, and he knows Ganon's behind GT. So he's got to go back sooner or later, right?
And I guess the other side of it is the item that's there is the Swamp Small Key. So that, assuming Stumpy is a location that exists in this game in his mind, which probably does, we can be pretty assured that fearagent is going to do Swamp Palace in go mode.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't want to curse him, but Stumpy feels like the kind of thing that if you haven't checked it at this point, there's some non-trivial chance that you failed to track it. I'm assuming that he's using a map tracker, but
I don't think he's done digging game either. Like, I just don't think he's been to that part of the world, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think he's gone past it, and so yeah, you're right. There's enough things in the area that he shouldn't duff it.
also see Fear Agent is still checking entrances, which is kind of an interesting call because I feel like the only high value entrance he hasn't seen is Eastern Palace, and he knows it's a pendant. So do you really want to find Eastern?
Well, this is the GT play, so he heard you. I think that might have just been he was in the area because of catfish, and there's probably one or two one-chest caves that he hasn't seen yet. Speaking of which, did Blindside ever turn up?
Yes, it did. I don't remember what was in it, but I'm pretty sure we saw it.
I believe so, yes, Selbarian, that's Spyro, but there are... oh, apparently.
So, wow. Schulzer is going into Pendant Ice before Crystal Swamp. Pendant Ice without the big key before Crystal Swamp with the big key. I don't agree with this decision at all, and I happen to know from watching Fear Agent side that this doesn't pay off, so this is just devastating.
Yep. Gives him one more fetch quest item, too, just for more ways to go waste time.
Oh, it gives him 2 fetch quest items. It gives him both the Thieves' Small Key, and he just went and killed Blind, and it gives him the Skull Big Key.
And it gave him the book, which is very close to a fetch quest item as well. So, lots of ways to waste time. Exactly what you're looking for when you're behind. And I gotta feel like he feels like he's behind at this point. Maybe that's the thought. The thought that Fear Agent couldn't have done this because it's you know.
I mean, I don't know if you necessarily feel behind in Schulzer's position. You're like, okay, I have 3 crystals, and I have a known required GT clear, so in a way I have 4 out of 8 crystals, right?
Yeah.
I just need the Mire Big, I need to find Desert, I need to go kill Helmasaur King, which I can do at any time, I need to go through Swamp. You're really not that far from everything you need, right?
But I gotta think that the only reason to go into Ice is that you feel like you need to make high variance plays, right? Because what else brings you here?
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he just bumped into Ice and went in on a whim, like, well, I'm here, this dungeon isn't that slow, it's 7 checks. He skipped out on the boss.
It's an interesting compromise.
Yeah, I honestly think it was just an overworld routing thing where he thought it was just more efficient to deal with Ice while he's here.
And it's not the worst place to get back to, but it's not great.
Yeah, like, I can't say his decision's completely wrong.
But given that it's one entrance over from given that it's one entrance over from Swamp,
of course, he's gonna feel better about going into Ice when he learns that Swamp is barren. Like, what could even be in here that would help? Half magic?
Yep. I don't even know if there's any small keys that could make his route more convenient.
I mean, if you want a real feels bad item that could be in here, the Ice Big could be in here. But yeah, with this GT clear, Fear Agent is stumpy away from go mode, and His dungeon clears are going to be pretty quick, too. He just has to go to Trinex once he goes to Stumpy. And he can go mode Swamp. He won't necessarily. I feel like with Swamp over on East Death Mountain, though, you might be tempted to just knock out easy overworld checks before heading to Swamp.
Yeah, I mean, it all comes down to when Fear Agent decides to go clear out overworld items. But given that he's found all the entrances he's interested in, and he knows there's standing overworld items, the Schulzer's teammates, which don't exist in this tournament, but just got to be hoping that Fear Agent barks up the wrong tree for an awful long time, while Schulzer finds Desert, finds that Mire Big, and clears out a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Schulzer needs, though, I'm just like looking at the actual items he has. He really just needs the Mire Big Key from the castle, right?
Yep. And to clear out a few more dungeons, and to find Desert, which
it's just in Hype Cave.
Yeah, but there's lots of choices. And he went by there recently. He went across by the bomb shop, I thought, before getting distracted by something else. Yeah,
it's really unusual that Schulzer has still not found Desert Final, given where it is at this point in the game.
I mean, we said that when Fear Agent found it 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, but like it's extra unusual given what Schulzer has done. Fear Agent just hadn't been to that part of the world at all.
Yeah. G, the last item that Fear Agent is looking for is on Stumpy. So, which is not a thing you get to say very often, but it's true today.
Look, the Ice Palace Big Key.
Draw so you know this is a not delayed race. But, don't go cheating.
Well, I mean, Drossi can cheat all he wants, just don't do any cheating that will share information with Schulzer or Fear Agent.
I don't know what other cheating he can do, frankly, but...
Well, he could watch the restream and know where all the item locations are.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and this is the problem for Schulzer, is that he has stuff to do that isn't the right stuff.
So the good news as well about the fact that he needs to go back to the castle is the castle entrance that he sees as convenient, because it is the convenient one, is the one at the bomb shop.
Yep.
So when he goes back for that, it's really likely he's going to check the Hype Cave entrance. Schulzer could hit go mode really quickly, actually.
Yeah, but yes, there's some chance he hits it before Fear, and he's doing the quote unquote correct thing, which is clearing out crystal dungeons he knows how to clear.
Like Pod, he has to do this anyway. This is no loss at all.
Yeah,
and all he has left in here is the Helmassar King clear. So he kills Helmassar King, and it's not unbelievable. He goes straight to his go mode, finds Desert, and finds the Mire Big. So Fear Agent had a lead for a while, but with this jump into Swamp, I actually think you could easily argue it's flipped.
I mean, we're in the super volatile state where they're both looking for something, and frankly, both looking for things in really obvious places. And it's just a case of what order they do the obvious things.
Especially, Fear Agent goes left here, 10 for 10 Swamp, like, that's enough time for Schulzer to finish off Helmassar King and finish off Landmo, and then it's a run to Vidi versus a run to Trinex. Trinex is faster, but, when do you do Stumpy?
An hour ago is when I do Stumpy. It's such I just every time we say that, I feel silly.
I mean, what we need to do are check Stumpy, check Hype Cave, go to Zelda's cell with a known Hyrule Castle location, and the sewer's key in the bag. Like, this is remarkable. It really is.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, we have to find the pyramid or, check pedestal or any of that nonsense.
Frankly, this seed didn't have any real trolls.
Nope.
If you did the most obvious things, I actually think this seed pretty much gave you what you needed.
Yeah, I mean, Schulzer got unlucky in that he was in Hyrule Castle about to check it, decided to check connectors and got locked out, which, happens. But, he even sort of was doing the obvious thing.
And yeah, we see Schulzer going the right way, fluting to 4. We're probably going to see him find Desert right now. Silver Arrows. Oh, that's another really easy location Fear Agent hasn't checked. The Village of Outcast Fortune Teller entrance is Silver Arrows. Just a one-item cave that has silvers just sitting in them. And, like, Silver Arrows are kind of a double time save for Schulzer, because not only do they save some time on Ganon, but the other bosses Schulzer has left are Landmalus and Vitreous, two of the main bosses you want silvers for.
Yeah, I mean, just on Ganon alone, it's is that enough to make up the fact that Vidi is a much longer clear than Trinex? I don't think so, but it can't hurt. Late bit, we were busy. We talked about how far ahead Fear Agent was for a while, because all he has left to do is go to Stumpy, and then he's in go mode. And he hasn't done that yet. And in the meantime, Schulzer has done a bunch of things right, including finding the last dungeon he was looking for. And now all he has to do is go to Zelda's cell, which is right next door to where he is. So it's two really obvious places to go. Which one is going to do it first? And they're both going to feel silly when they find Go mode. I think there's just no way around that. It's true. That's true, Relkin. The fact that he got locked out of the castle is going to make him full of a bit of regret when he does find that.
I mean, just how lowly, really, both players prioritized the South Dark World in general was really interesting. I feel like this is a region that I usually clear pretty early, because I really value Stumpy and Digging Game. But neither player prioritized those at all, which meant they weren't really going past the castle entrance that's convenient very much. We still don't know where Castle Right goes, actually. Spit you out of GT and get you stuck again.
Here's Schulzer going the right way, I think. Yep. They did clear out a fair amount of the South Light world before they found the mirror, which might have led to the deprioritization of the South Dark world. Just because
the connector to K45 might have had an impact too, because it just reduced the entrance density of the region.
Goomba, I'm with you. This is sort of a moral as to why you do the front of escape first. Lesson learned, hopefully.
So yeah, right now we are tied on crystals.
Sorry.
And
Goomba, he had the sewer's key in hand already by the time he got there, so... go ahead, AA, sorry.
yeah, we are tied on crystals. Schulzer is one more stair transition away from his Meyer big key. Fear Agent looks like he's heading toward the Turtle Rock Big Key right now.
I hope so.
So, assuming he's going straight to Stumpy, I actually think Fear Agent still has a lead. But it's close, especially when you factor in those silvers.
I mean, Schultzer's first to go mode, right?
Yeah, Schulzer's in go mode first. He's going to go straight to Vitreous and straight to Ganon. Fear Agent's in go mode right behind. He's going straight to Trinex and straight to Ganon. Trinex is non-trivially faster than Vitreous because the dungeon before him is just much quicker. I want to say if both of them execute on point, Fear Agent should win, but it's going to be close. It doesn't take a lot in the way of mistakes to flip that around.
And the other thing is both of these dungeons are super easy to get to, too. I mean, it's not even a...
There's a mistake right there, fluting to the wrong location to reach Laser Bridge. Just probably wrote down his Turtle Rock entrances in a way that didn't make it clear which was which.
That gave away 10, 15 seconds.
I mean, it was enough time for Schulzer to make it through the upper floor of Mire.
Yep.
Yes, the Turtle Rock Big Key is required in Crosskeys, because Turtle Rock, for reasons that aren't immediately obvious from a design perspective, but very convenient from our purposes, has 2 big key doors.
Which you discover the first time you get here without the big key, and are like, crap. Certainly happened to me in one of my early entrance rando seeds.
Mire has actually the same situation with 2 big key doors that are totally unnecessary, but it means you can't use hovering to skip the Mire big key. But yeah, we can see Fear Agent's finishing his boss first. Cape, Gold Sword, Silver, Arrow strats. This is literally the fastest possible Vitreous fight. And it's just a question of how much time do Silver save on Ganon?
So on my computer, Schultzer's stream just froze. So it's a mystery.
Because Silvers aren't that big of a deal, but when the race is this close, they can be the difference.
They're also less of a big deal because of Gold Sword, which just fell into their laps. Right? These guys have everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't. These 2 players, I've just been watching how they play. I think they're the type of execution players that Gold Sword probably doesn't save time on them versus Tempered.
Oh yeah.
Granted,
sometimes you get here.
Compared to Master, the Silvers are a less big deal. Oh man, Schulzer had a convenient portal. That saves a small amount of time.
My streams are frozen just at the climactic moment of the race, so I apologize for the lack of commentary.
Well, imagine a Ganon fight. You've probably seen a few, and the thing is that you might not have seen, Schulzer left his mirror portal in front of Link's house, and he used it as a shortcut to Ganon. It only saved like a screen transition or so, but the race is close.
Yeah.
It's a good play.
Do we know the tie rules for this comp? I assume it's 2 seconds. I don't think it's going to come up, but it's good a time as any to ask.
As someone on the tournament admin team, no, I don't particularly remember what's in the rules document.
If it comes down to it, you'll rapidly look that up.
Yeah, if we have a too close to finish situation, it's easily sorted, but for now, let's just
admire the fact that they're half a phase apart. Oof.
Yeah, I actually think Schulzer's definitely ahead now. Because he has Silvers.
Yep.
Oh man, Schulzer's messing up.
Yep. Oh boy. Whew.
That was a very poor Silver's Ganon fight, but it was good enough. I think Schulzer has this.
Yep. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I was worried he was going to fall off the edge there, but... Give your GTs to Schulzer, and they take away the commentator's job of reporting official times in this competition, which is kind of nice, but final time difference of 15 seconds. Oof. Welp, that happened.
That was a great race, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, there was so much back and forth. For a lot of the mid-game, I felt like Fear Agent had a clear lead, but Schulzer was playing efficiently the entire time. And it ended up letting him pull it out.
And
so, welcome, Fear Agent and Schulzer. GG's to both of you.
GG.
So, Schulzer, you won on account of silver arrows. Just so you know.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, you were behind going into the Ganon fight by you were half a phase 3 behind at the during the middle of the Ganon fight, and silver arrows got you there.
Yeah, when I walked out of the Hyrule Castle entrance, I was like, no, I have 2 answers that I can't come back in again. And then I saw Ted Dog and said, no, I need to go back. I need to go back there really quick.
Yeah, a lot of the story of this race was you guys not making what you would call the obvious plays. Like, your go mode, Schulzer, was checking the Hype Cave entrance to find Desert and going down Hyrule Castle and the Bomb Shop entrance to find the Meyer Big Key. Fear Agent also put off that part of the world for a long time. In particular, Fear Agent's go mode was Stumpy, and if Fear Agent had gone to Stumpy at any point before, well, a lot of other things, it would have made a big difference. So it was kind of interesting how that worked out.
Yeah, I probably should have gone to this place a lot earlier. I was like, maybe I can find a connector to Dark Bumper and can start my way from there, but I never found it because it was on that exact location map.
Yeah, this race was for us super easy to watch, super interesting to watch. You guys took very different routes through the game, very divergent. There was an awful lot of times when one of you walked into a place with the wrong items that had already been found on the other stream. And so the fact that it came down to 15 seconds to very minor decisions right in the end of the seed made our life super interesting. But we were sort of speculating in the middle of the race how far behind each of you felt from the choices you were making. So did either of you feel like you were winning?
Not any.
I'm not gonna lie. When I saw that done, like right when my fanfare started, I was pretty surprised. I mean, I felt I didn't do any of Village of Outcasts. I did 0 Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, that's where the silvers were too. You probably aren't surprised by that.
It was probably a good thing to skip Ice Palace boss.
Yeah,
like there's so many things. Like chat just timed it out. That miss flute at the end would have made the race a tie mathematically. Skipping Cold Stare was totally the difference. I mean, when a race is close, you could probably pick dozens of points in the race that were the critical one, right?
Of course. Yeah, but one of my main problems was really going out of the Hyrule Castle. I was going out and was like, no, I should not do this. I have 2 answers that I can go back into. That was one of the big points, I think.
Well,
I
and
go more than not earlier.
Chat pointing out that probably it's just correct to check the basement before you check the connectors there, just in case you hit the exit onlys.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very just interesting all around. I feel like the seed didn't really have any big trolls in it, but it was very open very early, so you had a lot of different ways you could play it.
I guess I had hammer Dini Ernie, but I got boots late.
Yeah. So another interesting factoid is that you guys each got 2 different swords for your master sword. So between you had all 4 of the swords to build your master swords. Just because you could go anywhere really early on in the game.
Yeah, I should have checked the desert stuff a lot earlier. I think I had a connector from a checkpoint.
I mean, it's kind of the nature of early seeds. There's a lot of stuff that one of you did and the other waited a long time for, and you're like, man, that's such a good item that's so easy. But it's like it's not like you weren't getting value in other places. I think it was,
as can be demonstrated by the fact that it came down to 15 seconds. Right? Ultimately, it's just going everywhere as quickly as possible. And go ahead.
If we go back to the early game, like Schulzer, I believe, spent a lot of time in CAC very early, while Fear Agent explored a lot of the rest of the world, and you had nearly completely different sets of items that, when merged together, resulted in nearly full exploration kit, and then you just kind of flipped around and did that. I guess kind of one of the biggest early game points that was kind of defining was the fact that Fear Agent was not able to fight Ice Armos his first time going down left side GT, and that was a required play.
Yeah, I got hammer out of logic with the connected to this mountain, and I was like, it has 2 possibilities. Either I find Mirror Dini Ernie or Lamp. So I wanted to clear out the early game as best as possible, because I knew there was like maybe the Mirror is so good in this mode. But I couldn't find it and only found it Lamp. Then it's boots thing.
Man, what a race.
Did you found Eastern or Heather at any point?
So Fear Agent did clear out Hera, and at the time he found it, he didn't have knowledge it was a crystal or pendant. But neither of you found Eastern, so it's got to be in one of a very few places.
Guess it was Dark Witch.
So
I honestly suspect Hera or Eastern is likely in GT.
Yep.
Yeah. Couldn't find bombers somewhere. Anyway. So GG. Wow, I didn't expect it at the end to be so close.
Yeah, me neither.
Those are spectacular times. Sorry, go ahead.
I played pretty bad early on. Like I was trying to get my internet was, I don't want to make excuses, but I was having internet trouble, so I was trying to mess with that, and then you start racing, and you're like, holy crap, what am I doing? And so I was like a little flustered in the beginning. My play was pretty bad in the beginning. I feel like I tightened it up later, but I wasted time in Spiral Cave. That kind of sucked. I mean, I can think of 12 seconds like everywhere that I lost.
Oh yeah, like that's, and like I've totally been there. I think all of us who played a lot of Rando have. You could think of so many things you did wrong, and you felt like you were off your game early. I mean, the Spiral Cave thing, I'd be beating myself up over it, and but like overall, like your time was still an objectively good time in the scheme of Rando, and you were really close.
I mean, I felt great, and again, a little surprised to see the 12th or whatever, how many seconds snipe. I was pretty shocked because I felt like everything just. I mean, I got boots early, I got glove early, I got hammer early, I got that mirror pretty early. I mean, I left CAC with full Dark World access, flute, mirror, boots. That's I don't know. That felt.
I got.
You did, of course, do the one big difference. I mean, it's a short dungeon, but you did do an extra dungeon over Schulzer because he never found Hera, and of course, you also killed Cold Stare.
Why didn't you kill Cold Stare?
It wasn't a logic at that point, and I was like, is it really worth it to go for 2 items that cost you like 2 minutes or like 1.5 minutes? I had to go to flip the switch. It doesn't.
I mean, I understand. I kind of understand that, but I mean, like in keys, you might not have logic right this second, but that doesn't mean like whatever keys are just sitting right out there. That's I guess that's a
Of course,
philosophical difference of doing keys, I guess.
of course. But
Actually,
I
let's.
had like so many places left. I had complete swamp left. I needed to find desert at that point. So I just thought,
Yeah, I mean, I hesitated going
so.
into Ice Palace totally. Like, I'm not sure if you guys watched, but I like got to desert or Ice Palace. I like waited. I'm like, do I want to go in here? Obviously,
we
it
both
wasn't a great.
commented on that because Amazing Ampharos forgot to push the push to talk button, and so we both remarked on it, and the audience only got to hear half of us. Yeah, so both of you did Ice Palace actually quite late, and so we were a bit surprised in both cases that you guys bothered to dive for knowing that it was a pendant and relatively close to go mode.
And
Yeah,
you
I
did
was
like
especially
one
surprised.
eye.
Why did you go into Ice Palace, Schulzer, when Swamp was right next door and you could full clear it?
Because I couldn't go back to Ice Palace at any good point.
Okay, but then why not kill Cold Stare if you're there? That's what I don't get. Like, if you're
Because it makes it unfair. I thought I wanted to clear it all, but I had to go flip the switch again with Icebreaker. I need to go down Ice Tea. I could have skipped Ice Tea, of course, and killed Codes there, but I wasn't like going down to Codes and kill him because I was only Maya Bicky from Go mode, and I had like a lot of places left at that point. I'm pretty sure I never went Village of Outcasts at that point, or I did somewhat of Village of Outcasts. Go back there. If I remember correct. Of course, logic doesn't mean anything at that point, but I had like more item dance locations than codes there with the Hashana.
Unless you have any more questions, AA, I think I'm all out of things to say other than thank you both for the race, and don't beat yourself up too much, Fear Agent. There's always 10 seconds that you regret at the end.
I mean, there's more than 10 seconds now.
Um,
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, this is randomizer, right? This is what
the
happens.
all right. Thank you guys both very much for the race, and good luck in your next races when they get scheduled.
Yeah, thank you for coming that days, and thank you, Seckers.
Yeah.
GG's.
Thanks for both running. Good games. Congrats on your win, Schulzer, and better luck next time, Fear Agent. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, cheers everyone. So that's going to be it for now, but we do have more Crosskeys coming up in exactly 2 hours from now. That's going to be Goomba versus Cadenza. Still trying to get commentary for that, but hopefully we'll find some volunteers or we'll rope them in somehow. In the meantime, I've got ourselves a lovely raid target, so we can go over and say hi to Wallkicks, who's just started off a mystery seed about 10 minutes in, so see how well they do on that. Anyway, cheers everyone for watching. Quick shout out to our lovely trackers as well, our commentators, for keeping us all entertained today. It's been really good, and yeah. See you all again soon. Bye bye for now.